Good morning, friends. Stephen Benoon here with Israeli News Live. And listen, we've got a few things here I'm going to be sharing with you this morning. Some of the things I mentioned briefly last night when we did the interview with Sister Elizabeth about why the military equipment that has been moving out west. There's been a lot of speculation as to why this is happening. What is the government anticipating? What's going on? Is it going to be because of the invasion from China? And of course, that is a very real possibility, but that's not actually the reason why they're moving all this military equipment out west. And so I promised that I would discuss with you what this is being done for. And some of this is quite controversial that I'm going to be speaking about. And a lot of times the controversial things I put over on our Patreon channel. But I still think this is very important information that we all need to know, regardless of what you may feel about some of the information I'm going to share with you on here. I think it's still important for you to know, for you to make your own decisions as to what you think you should do for you and your own family. So let's kind of get into this right off the bat here. This video here was actually sent to me initially by a good friend of mine in FEMA, and it was before it actually ended up on the Hal Turner show or on his broadcast, but someone sent it to Hal Turner as well. So they sent me a new clip because I didn't have one so that I could actually share this with you. So I'm just going to share what is from Hal Turner so you can actually see this video footage here for yourself. This is in, I think it was North Dakota is where this was filmed at. And according to the person recording this, this happens frequently where they're seeing military equipment that is moving west. Initially, I'd seen a video that was uploaded that was sent to me on Twitter. I shared that with you a little while back, where they were showing military equipment with Red Cross emblems on it. Most of these were armored personnel carriers, and that was in Colorado. Now this one here in North Dakota, and of course the equipment heading west, both tanks and armored personnel carriers are on this particular train load of equipment. And so the question's been coming up to me quite often. Steve, can you find out why are we moving all this military equipment assets to the west there? Is it because of China, a possible invasion of China? And of course, there is a lot of talk in Washington amongst the different factions there. I actually have a friend too that is part of the Joint Chiefs that has also said to me that there is a concern of an invasion by China. But the current administration, Joe Biden, held over from of course, the Obama years, and Hillary Clinton, as I've been told, wears the pants in this administration. She's really the one that is running the nation right now as president of the United States, even though you're never going to know about that. She's the one that is actually running this country right now. But at any rate, they don't believe that China will attack us. Now, I say they say that not to say that they're not going to orchestrate with China to come in to fight against the American people that refuse to go along with this program that they've been trying to push on us for quite some time. I'm kind of choosing my words carefully because we don't want this to have to be down to just a 30-second clip over on YouTube. So, but anyway, that is a very real possibility that China will come in as a humanitarian aid when they begin to mandate this agenda that they have, and they end up meeting resistance. I've been told that before, that's a very real possibility. But right now, what's going on with the tanks, it's because of civil unrest. And of course I asked, what is the cause of the unrest? So the probabilities are so great for civil unrest that the government is moving assets into place to deal with what's coming. And of course, we went into the issue about China, and that there's a lot of talk about, there could be an attack, but it's only talk. They don't actually have proof of that, other than the fact that the government does know that China has troops in Canada as well as Mexico. That should be alarm enough, if you ask me. But anyway, it said we're facing major food and water crisis is what we're going to be facing on the West Coast and even in the Midwest. And some of which is man-made, as I was told, but the potential of incoming asteroids, which could in turn affect volcanic and seismic activity, that will only add to the crop failures that they're already beginning to have as a result of fires and other things like that from the West Coast there. In fact, our produce here in the United States, about 60% of our produce comes from the West Coast there, California. As far as like Florida produces oranges and things like that. Well, California also produces a tremendous amount of produce for our nation. And I've shared with you already that we have turned to Mexico as a result of that, because we're not getting that in at this point there. But there are a lot of challenges that we're facing, and even hurricanes was another thing that was brought up, which just so happens to be as interesting when he had mentioned to me hurricanes on the West Coast there. And here they have a 75 mile per hour hurricane already called Olaf that is headed right up the coastline there, and it's actually traveling northwest. So it looks like it's going to go right up through the peninsula there, and hit California maybe even, and cause even more problems there. But he went on to say to me that of course there's the volcanic and the seismic activity that will only add to the crop failures. Plus, the Colorado River is drying up, so the scientific data is huge. Is a huge supply of what's coming to affect the agricultural collapse, or at least they have a huge amount of scientific data that supports that. And as far as China attacking, there are loads of opinions. That too will be a major risk, but it is ignored. And going back to the Bill Clinton administration, I'd already mentioned to you there, they were just convinced that China would never have anything to do with it. But he says here, we are also facing hurricanes, tidal waves, earthquakes that will affect the West Coast. And the economists are saying we will take a 70% hit on the agricultural produce. And specifically, then we have then we also have the other issue that's coming to the United States, and that is the locust swarms that are coming from South America. And we're talking about locusts that are size of small birds. That's the type of locusts that are actually coming up here. And I've been told that they're going to hit the Midwest and hit our breadbasket, which is also going to create a huge, huge problem. And by the way, Maui, you guys may know this already, but Maui is actually turning away tourists because of a lack of water. Now, if you remember, as I said, though, he did mention that some of this is man-made. So keep that in mind when you hear about the man-made issues there. And I know that Deborah Tavares, on some of the broadcasts that she shared, the water issues she believes really are man-made in the first place. But the asteroid, though, as he mentioned there, is another thing that is of major concern. And of course, what he's talking about is the one that would hit in November. And no matter how much they try to break this thing up, they're just not having success. But I was told that all nations are working together right now, including China with the United States and Japan and Russia, on trying to deal with the asteroids that are coming in. Over on Patreon, I go into that quite a little bit more in depth because of what's going to be happening in October. So you might want to catch our Patreon channel on that one there. But in the case of the West Coast, the subduction zone, this 1/4 mile wide asteroid is anticipated to hit, and they're not having success in moving it off course. They're not having success in breaking it up. The density of it is too great. The Chinese wanted to nuke it. The extraterrestrials or fallen angels have said that they're not allowed to use nukes on it. And this actually brought us to something, and so normally I wouldn't even share this here either, but I'll go ahead and say it to you. I actually asked, look, the governments of the world work with these entities, these fallen angels. And as a result, you work with them. They have a greater technology than what we do? Have they not offered to help break these up as well? They know how to move them. They know how to steer them. If you remember the interview we did with Brother Gary Lowry there, he had also mentioned how that these fallen angels had told him that they would bring asteroids to create chaos upon the earth. Well, oddly enough, one friend that I have there that was working with the Joint Chiefs of Staff there brought that up in one of their meetings and said, we have all our connections with the extraterrestrials. Has not anyone approached them with their technology to deal with these incoming asteroids? And the answer came back that was yes, they had approached them, but they said they were not ready to help at this moment. I thought that that was rather interesting, that they were not ready to help at this moment. Why is it that they're not ready to help at this moment? And so I asked, I said, is that because we know that in 2026 they're to do a disclosure coming to the earth, claiming to be our saviors for humanity, that we're in chaos? Well, of course, the answer that they got back at the Joint Chiefs of Staff meeting is that they believe that the extraterrestrials are waiting for us to fall to our knees and beg for help. And it goes back to what, and as I brought up to him as well, this 2026 issue there and them wanting to come to appear as if they're the saviors of the world. He did concur with that theory as well, that is why they're not willing to help. They want us to be in such a catastrophic condition. And this, by the way, friends, is global. This is not limited just to the United States. Our video on Patreon, I go into that a little bit more about the different countries that are affected. I know Puerto Rico is going to be affected. The northern parts of South America is going to be affected. China is going to be affected. And even the North Pole regions there are going to be affected. We get into that. We get into the aspects of not only how these things are going to be affected, but also how that you're going to see what they call global warming is actually going to be caused by the strikes that are going to be hitting that region there, melting the permafrost almost instantly. So at any rate, it's so controversial when we get into this issue about asteroids because so many people just don't want to hear about those type things there. And I will say this just to kind of calm the nerves for people. These are not extinction level events or anything like that. The only one that is really sizable is the one that hit the subduction zone. And of course, the tidal wave potential and the earthquake potentials are where the major problems will arise from that. It's not just going to wipe out and kill everybody on the planet or nothing like that. But even if they break it in half, it still would create a very huge tidal wave. And so it would have to really be not completely off course and not hit the earth for them to have that success. And I'm always assured that they are definitely working on that and that hopefully that will be resolved before it gets here in late November. So, but anyway, like I said, though, October is a little different story. Nothing big in the ones in October, but still enough that could tip the scales when it comes to seismic activity. On your screen, though, is Hurricane Larry out in the Atlantic Ocean, getting close to Bermuda with winds at 100 miles per hour. It's downgraded now to a Category 2. It's lost some of its strength there. But do keep in mind there are other issues that we're facing. If you go to the Atlantic region there, we do have a disturbance that's down there that is in cyclone formation. They're expecting in 48 hours for that to develop into something. Where it will actually go, probably Mexico is what they're talking about right now. Mindy, of course, has already crossed the United States there. It really wasn't much to Mindy there. Never had a chance to really build up, but still got 35-mile-an-hour winds. But it's a very fast moving storm there. I can only imagine It's going to go back out into the Atlantic. So it might still strengthen up a little bit and may end up turn back up and hit North Carolina or something to that effect. We really just don't know what's going to happen there. But remember, September and October are still potentials, especially for hurricanes that affect Florida, Gulf Coast regions, places like that. So I would not be a bit surprised to see some very powerful storms still come in and hit the United States. We're in for a rough ride, friends, and that's just the truth of the matter. Anyway, going to be uploading some more videos on Patreon. I don't know if I can do it this evening, but I'm hoping I can. We got I got a very interesting report yesterday from folks in the CIA and some things, the projects they've been working on. And I think you might find that very interesting. And they're dealing with demonic entities. So anyway, I'm Stephen Benoon. You're listening to Israeli News Live. Thank you for listening. And if what we do is a blessing for you and you want to support the broadcast, please do. I also have a teaching I need to upload here. It's been heavily on my heart that I want to go into. So I may actually focus on the teaching instead this evening, and then maybe try to deal with the demonic entities and stuff that the CIA, the report I got from them on that, may deal with that either tomorrow or might be able to pull both of them off. We'll just have to wait and see how that goes there. But anyway, if you would like to support the broadcast, Stephen Benoon, our address, P.O. Box 156, Sunbright, Tennessee 37872, or you can donate online. Really appreciate that. And also want to thank those of you that reached out to support Dr. Madej, because we know that she's on the very verge of losing her license. And of course, because she can't actually practice like a normal doctor, she can only do telemedicine right now. Her source of income has been greatly limited as a result. So your love and support really was a blessing. And we want to thank you for what you did to help her. That was very kind. We appreciate that. Anyway, I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live. God bless you.